First corner battle is just a few minutes away. Round 13 of the Dunlop MSA British Touring Car Championship. And in the commentary box, Tim Harvey is alongside Ben Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, the car's already moving away on this formation lap. Beautiful weather conditions here at Croft and a fantastic crowd to enjoy the action here today. The first of the three races, and on pole position it is Tom Chilton, his third pole of 2010, the fourth pole for Fords in this year's championship. Gordon Shedden alongside, then Rob Collard in the fastest of the BMWs, with Alex McDowell in the Chevrolet on the third row. The two championship contenders, Matt Neal and Jason Plato. On row 4 it's Tom Onslow-Cole in another Ford Focus, then James Nash, Paul O'Neill and Andrew Jordan on row 5. New boy Daniel Lloyd doing well to qualify 11th alongside Matt Jackson on row 6. On row 7, Tom Boardman in the Seat and David Pinkney, then Stephen Kane a long way down the grid in the Airwaves BMW. Martin Depper is on row 8 with him. Then row 9 we've got Martin Johnson and John George, and towards the back Arthur Forster, Lee Wood, Sean Hollenby and Andy Neate. Now, interestingly, Andy Neate at the back of the grid for this one. Now, that is partly for a 6th place penalty as a result of what happened at Alton Park. Tim, talk us through this.
Yeah, well, this is approaching the island hairpin. You're on board with Andy Neate. Up in front, you see Andrew Jordan wide, and then exiting, you've got full lock and full power from Andy Neate, which resulted in Andrew Jordan going off sharp right and being pitched on top of the barriers, and that's why he deservedly got the penalty.
So there is Andy at the back of the field. He picks up a 6th place penalty on the grid for this race as a result of that incident, as well as being excluded from the race result. That was race 3 at Alton Park, the last race that we enjoyed, of course, just a couple of weeks ago. Here we are now at Croft in the northeast, and as I say, beautiful weather conditions, the track in good shape. Tim, you're of course racing again this weekend in the Porsches. I know some guys have been saying it was quite dirty offline when they first went out. Has it been cleaning up over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, the track's been getting quicker and quicker all through the weekend, in fact, and the tyres at the chicane after the first 2 corners have been moved back a little bit, which allows the cars a straighter run through and carrying more speed onto the back straight. And obviously the first 4 cars were faster than the qualifying lap record set by James Thompson some while ago. So that proves that certainly the tyres that Dunlop are providing now are very, very competitive, that the circuit's in good shape. What will be concerning the front-wheel drive cars is that this is a high tyre wear circuit, and it's hot today, and that traditionally puts the performance emphasis with the BMWs, who of course have won 5 out of the last 9 races here.
Yeah, they've had a great time, but we've got 4 different makes of car in the top 4 places on the grid. The Ford Focus, then the Honda Civic, the BMW, and then the Chevrolet Cruze. Those are the top 4 cars. It's Tom Chilton on pole position on the left-hand side as we look at it. And we're all prepared now, just about. The last few cars just coming to place. There is Andy Neate moving into position. And once he's there, we'll be getting this race underway.
Remember, the first corner is really one line only. If you're on the outside, you're in no man's land.
Round 13 of the 2010 Dunlop MSA British Touring Car Championship from Croft in Yorkshire. About to get underway. Lights out. Away we go. Great start from Gordon Shedden in the Honda Civic. And he's going to get in front, I think, of Tom Chilton. Yes, he is. As they head down towards the first corner, Gordon Shedden has made a breathtaking getaway. Rob Collard on the outside of the BMW doesn't quite take 2nd place. Probably sensibly slots into 3rd.
Yeah, Collard was looking to make a good start, obviously with the BMW, but having got to the first corner on the outside of Chilton, all he could do was slot inside, but it was Shedden that made a great start. His teammate Matt Neal, championship leader, had clouds of blue smoke off the front tyres. He made a terrible start.
On board with James Nash, he qualified pretty well in 8th place in the 888 Vauxhall, but look at the battle up front. Gordon Shedden still looking for his first win of 2010, up against it with Tom Chilton in that rapid LPG powered Ford Focus. And of course Tom has had a victory. He's also had another victory taken away from him already this year. In 3rd place though, watch out for the BMW of Rob Collard. As this race progresses, we do expect the BMW to be relatively quicker than the front wheel drive cars.
Yeah, there's no difference in the first few laps, but you can expect the fastest lap of the race will almost certainly come in the first 3 laps, and after that point it should come back to Collard.
So down into the complex section, heading towards the slowest corner on the British Touring Car calendar. That is the left-hand hairpin here at Croft. Here we go. Watch for incidents here during the day, but Shedden clearly into the lead there. The Chevy's going quite well behind. McDowell is still running in 4th place. Onslow Cole is 5th. Jason Plato is in 6th and ahead of his great rival Matt Neal. Of course, those two guys are carrying quite a lot of ballast in their cars, and that could affect them as the race progresses. Here comes Onslow Cole. Tom Onslow Cole having a look at getting past McDowell, but he couldn't quite make it, although McDowell takes out a marker cone.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised the marker cone lasted the first lap, actually, but it will widen the approach into that chicane and make it a little bit quicker.
Now, I mentioned that Plato's in 6th. James Nash in the black car is in 7th. That's the 888 Vauxhall. And behind him is Matt Neal. So Matt Neal losing it out a bit on that first start. And he is down in 8th place. Paul O'Neill is in 9th. Tom Boardman is in 10th. And Arthur Forster into the pits. That's a shame for the privateer and the BMW. Let's see if we can find out what happened. Ooh, quick section of the circuit to go off.
Oh, he lost it there on the way in. Does he get it all the way? Well, he gets into the weeds, and doubtless he's got an engine cooling duct full of grass there, and that's why he's got to pit to cool that down.
So the local racer out of the race. That's a disappointment. He'll have his supporters here this weekend. But up front, it's still Gordon Shedden versus Tom Chilton. Rob Collard sitting comfortably in 3rd place. Then the Chevrolet Cruze of Alex McDowell sitting in 4th. Tom Onslow Cole in the other Focus, then Plato, then Nash in the black car, then Matt Neal, and the rest of them all pretty well bunched together. Paul O'Neill still 9th, Boardman 10th. Matt Jackson is in 11th place. They're up around the hairpin here. Behind Jackson, we've got Andrew Jordan. Dave Pinkney's in there as well. Actually, he's sitting in 15th place now at the moment, is Dave Pinkney. And across the line they come then onto the 3rd lap out of 15. And so far, so good for Gordon Shedden.
Yeah, remember as always that the top 5 cars in the championship have to carry success ballast in qualifying at this first race, which handicaps massively around this circuit. And it's Plato and Neal carrying the most amount of ballast to reflect their positions. But in fact, although Neal started in front of Plato, Plato is in front.
Matt Neal's getting closer to James Nash now. The battle for 7th place, that is. Nash now under pressure. Matt Neal having a little look into the right-hander at Tower, tricky braking area going into that one over the bumps, but no chance for Matt Neal to get through. Now we're coming up to the fastest section of the circuit. Wonderfully flowing sequence of corners.
Beautiful sequence, having to actually change up all on the way through that gear. But look at the speed Matt Neal, he's lining up. It's so difficult to pass here on the brakes into Sunny. You can't see it there, but the cars are braking around a right-hand corner, which is why you often see smoke coming off the right rear tyre, which is virtually off the ground there.
Matt Neal, one of only 2 drivers to have won races that are on this current grid. Only Matt Neal and Jason Plato of the current runners have won here at Croft in the past, so that's a surprise. We could be seeing a new Croft winner in the shape of either Gordon Shedden or Tom Chilton. If it carries on, Matt Neal had a little look there, did he? Having up the inside. I'm not quite sure if he managed. Yes, I think he did. Matt Neal got past there. A typical Matt Neal late lunge up the inside.
Yeah, great place to pass if you can. And look at this. This is Onslow Cole getting up the inside.
Yeah, I think he's done it. Onslow Cole down the inside of Alex McDowell. Beautiful move in the Ford Focus there from the man who took the most points from Alton Park, Tom Onslow Cole. He's loving this Focus. Back here at Croft, he ran the Focus for the first time here last year. But of course it wasn't LPG powered then. Now it is, and it is flying. Yeah, there's a speed trap just along there where they're crossing now, and the Ford's still the fastest car through that speed trap. Behind him now, McDowell trying to have another little look at getting back, but there's Jason Plato behind his own teammate. So I wonder if Jason's going to find a way through. Remember, he's carrying 36 kilos of ballast, and now behind Plato is Matt Neal carrying the maximum ballast of 45 kilos. These two main championship contenders, they seem to be welded together on circuit through most of the races recently as well. Just so you know, I mean, 36 kilos is worth about 3.5 tenths round here, and 45 kilos on Matt Neal's car, 4.5 to half a second slower per lap. Yeah, it's a big chunk, isn't it? And Gordon Shedden, and Dave Pinkney's in trouble. Looks as though, is that an engine problem, or is certainly a lot of smoke and steam coming from the back of the car? Well, that looks like a turbo problem. Obviously that car runs the new NGT turbo engine, and David is anxiously trying to get it back to the pits to give the team as much time as possible to change it, but he's obviously shut that off now, but that clearly looked like a turbo failure to me. Just passed by Sean Hollenby's Golf. Sean lost his times in qualifying due to failing the ride height check. Dave's just trying to lift that car back. Look at Shedden getting running away here. Good couple of laps. He set fastest lap last time around on lap 3. He was quick again on that last lap, and Gordon Shedden is flying. He's been out of luck this year, but he is certainly easing away from Tom Chilton in second. There's Rob Collard in the WSR BMW third. 4th place for Onslow Cole. 5th for McDowell, chased by Jason Plato, and then of course Matt Neal. And Matt Neal has closed up on that Chevy.
Yeah, he has. He's back onto the back of it. I think that Plato's sort of being held up a little bit perhaps by his own teammate here, and that's allowed Matt Neal to close. Certainly the Honda's running very quickly just at the moment.
The blue and white Silverline Chevrolet Cruises, Alex McDowell and Jason Plato running in team formation, but Plato will be concerned by the fact that his big rival Matt Neal, who is ahead of him in the points, there he is in the Honda racing car number 4, is now on his boot lid, and he'll be taking the odd glance in his mirrors to see where Matt Neal is. Bit of a gap back then to Paul O'Neill, who's got past James Nash, so that's a gain of position for Paul O'Neill. Nash moved back, he's now under pressure from Tom Boorman. You're looking from James Nash's car at the other black machine, this time with the Union flag on the top of it. That's Tom Boorman in the Seat, and he's having a little look as they come up to the hairpin.
Yeah, he may have just nudged him wide there and got up the inside.
No, not quite.
Didn't quite get the exit there. Very difficult on front-wheel drive car to get the power down early from a tight line in. Yeah, Paul O'Neill doing a good job. He joked to me yesterday that they got rid of that 9-year-old gearbox that they were running at the last race and replaced it with a 5-year-old one. So he reckoned that was a big improvement.
Well, they had a horrible time, didn't they, with gearbox troubles at Alton Park, but they've put that behind them. They've been working hard. He's sitting in 8th place now. Quick note that Matt Jackson is in 11th. And the other big sort of shock of qualifying yesterday was that Stephen Kane in the other Airways BMW was 15th on the grid. He hasn't made much progress. He's down in 14th place, currently leading the Independence Points Championship, and Airways leading the Teams Championship, but both their cars a long way down. Yeah, a lot of head scratching in the Motorbase camp last night, some long debriefs going on. I think they felt that there was some setup issues perhaps on Matt Jackson's car, but no real answers to the lack of pace from Stephen Kane. And what was surprising was he looked quite quick, certainly in the first free practice. He looked like Stephen was on it. Oh, mistake from Nash.
Wide again from Nash.
Just got it back, didn't he? That was tight. I thought Boorman was going to be alongside him there, but just had enough of a margin over him. Yeah, that's into that sunny in complex where you're braking round the bend. Very difficult just to get the car stopped, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some people running wide later in the race. Absolutely. So Daniel Lloyd there is making his debut in British touring cars, only 18 years old. Oh, they'll move up there. That was Jackson Kane, that was. Stephen Kane getting through, and Boorman going off on the grass as a result of all that. So take them across the line. Let's just see what change that has made. I think it's Jackson, actually. It was Jackson gaining the place. So Matt Jackson is now up to 10th place in the Airwaves car, battling with Andrew Jordan. Oh, nothing to choose between the two of them as they come through. But oh no, there's been a little bit of contact. Jackson spins, spins. Jordan keeps going but gets passed by Daniel Lloyd. Oh, and that's cost them both dearly. And there's Stephen Kane going past his teammate. Yeah, this looked like Jordan was getting in a little bit too hot to that section, that chicane. There's two ways of approaching that. You can go in a little bit slower and hold a tight line on the exit, or as Jordan was perhaps trying to do, go in a bit quicker and roll some momentum through it. But Jackson got tapped into a half spin. So McDowell still sitting in 4th, Plato 5th, Matt Neal is in 6th, but I did notice that Rob Collard is getting closer to 2nd place Tom Chilton now, so that's something that we're going to keep an eye on as well. McDowell just runs a touch wide. Let's take a look at what happened just a moment ago here, Tim. Take another look at this. Jackson down the inside cleanly into the first corner, and then trying to cut back a bit as Jackson runs wide. Just a little bit of contact from Jordan, just sent him into a half spin. So Jackson with the rear-wheel drive car losing out hard, but look at this battle for 2nd place now. Tom Chilton and Rob Collard, and Collard's got the inside now as they head down towards Clairvaux, but the LPG powered car on the outside there as we look at it, very strong in a straight line, and he's not able to stay on the inside. No, despite a poor exit, Chilton was able to pull a car length and a half down that relatively short straight. But the rear-wheel drive BMW looking after its tyres very good through this sequence, and Chilton's gone wide. My goodness, that's a very unusual place to see someone overtake. That was completely down to tyre life. The front-wheel drive Ford Focus just could not put the power down, and with the tyres wearing, and the BMW's pushing from the rear, able to just accelerate on a tighter line and cleanly take over. I mean, by way of comparison, Shedden's fastest lap on lap 3 at 26.2, and he's now
now lapping in 27.7. So that's how the tyres are going off, but clearly it's affected the Ford a little bit more.
Now, Tim, we're halfway through this race, almost exactly halfway through this race. Collard, the gap between himself and Shedden, about 3 seconds. Can he close that? Has he?
Yeah, I think he can. I mean, Shedden's certainly looking after his tyres very well.
This was Andy Neate a moment ago. Ooh. Did he hit? Oh, dear. Oh.
Well, there's a lot of runoff there, and there needs to be for that sort of action. But anytime you go through those Jim Clark S's, even remotely side by side, you're looking at that kind of an incident.
So Shedden leads. Let's see what the gap is this time between himself and Rob Collard in the BMW in second place. We've seen Collard make a good move there on Tom Chilton. Across the line comes Collard then, and the gap 3.1. Okay, we know where it is. We'll keep an eye on that over the next few laps. Meanwhile, further back, it's all still going on because Matt Neal is now protecting from his good mate Paul O'Neill. Look at Paul, one way, then the other. What's he up to?
Well, I mean, you know, these two are actually teammates on the Honda Question of Motorsport that we run every Saturday night in the local Honda dealers. And last night they came out victorious over Gordon Shedden and Matt James, the journalist. So we'll see if they're still sharing the love today.
Well, Paul O'Neill was looking very racy a moment ago. Now he's sort of slotted into position once more behind Matt Neal. Paul himself was heading for a victory here in the wet last year, if you remember, but unfortunately the battery was overloaded with the wipers working and everything else going on, and he pulled out of the race when he looked as though he could be on for a potential victory. Now he's gradually just moved up to the back of Matt Neal there. He's sitting in 7th. Matt Neal is in 6th place, remember. Still Jason Plato holding on just ahead of them in 5th. And McDowell, Alex McDowell, the youngster in the other Chevrolet, holding a solid 4th. Leaders coming through, and Tom Chilton had that pole position, but isn't able to sustain quite the same race pace as the other guys ahead of him now. There's McDowell. Could do with a couple of solid finishes, McDowell. He qualifies very well. He's just got to show that resilience now in the races.
Yeah, well, Plato and Neal would have been relatively happy to sit there and ditch some of the ballast for the second race, but now they've got Paul O'Neill for company. It might change things. And a couple of things to remember about that Honda Integra that Paul O'Neill's driving. It's a very slippery shape. That coupe shape, very aerodynamic, so it has good top speed, but also, traditionally, that car's always looked after its tyres very well.
That's a very good point, and as we've seen, that's already a factor because of the way that Collard's going with the rear-wheel drive BMW. But you're right, in terms of front-wheel drive cars, that Integra at the back of that group there is one of the best at looking after its tyres, and that's why it's been such a great car in British touring cars for so many years, and it's still capable of remarkable results. He's had 2 podiums already this year, remember, and they were well-deserved podiums. They were not lucky results at all, and he is right on the back of championship leader here, Matt Neal. And after that, and there's McDowell just running a touch wide, but I don't think any chance for Plato to take advantage.
No, Chilton is just trying to concentrate on driving his lines. He knew he couldn't defend against Collard, but if these two scrap, it looks like Plato really wants to get past now. Chilton can just hold that gap.
Oh, and Plato, and then McDowell's gone very wide. Plato taking advantage of it.
They'll both go through. They'll both go through here for sure.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Paul O'Neill doesn't get the same chance to go through.
But McDowell's got dirt all over his tyres now.
So can Paul O'Neill take advantage up through the complex? I don't know whether he can. Might have to take a bit more of a gamble here. He will want to get past McDowell while McDowell's still recovering from the moment. But McDowell goes defensive into the hairpin, and that's going to be tricky for Paul O'Neill. He might try and cut back on the exit. Here you are, look at him. Oh, there's a bit of a rub there and a bit of a squeeze, and he is through.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul O'Neill knows how to race. He made McDowell defend into the hairpin, cut back, and just leant on him enough to get 2 wheels on the dirt to stop his traction off the corner.
Paul O'Neill is certainly showing all the expertise of an experienced touring car racer. The 2 888 Vauxhalls together there. That's interesting. James Nash in 9th, and then the multicoloured car of Daniel Lloyd. He's the new boy, putting in a good showing here, Tim.
Yeah, very good showing. 18 years old out of the Clios, and really adapted to this car very quickly. Remember, there's very limited testing these guys are allowed, so he's grabbed that car, and I mean, he had a run at Rockingham in the official test, but really he's had very little running in it.
Yeah, and he'll be enjoying just shadowing James Nash here, who again, relatively inexperienced, but Nash will very much want to show that he's the dominant force of these two, because he does have that bit more experience in the car, and so you can expect these two to be racing pretty hard. Meanwhile, just ahead of them, Tom Onslow Cole clipping the inside curve. Onslow Cole in 8th place, a lot of them kicking up the dust there, as Plato and Matt Neal going with Chilton. They're all together. My goodness, they all suddenly caught Chilton. Matt Neal almost trying to go the other side. Paul O'Neill's in there as well. What a fantastic battle for 3rd place. Plato's now taken 3rd. Matt Neal's up into 4th, and Paul O'Neill's trying to go round him.
Yeah, let's see if Matt Neal is as generous. Yeah, he just gives him enough room. Paul O'Neill, all 3 of them coming past Chilton there as his tyres deteriorate. Paul O'Neill still playing on the back of Matt Neal's car, saying I'm quicker. But we said we'd watch that gap at the front. It was 3.1 seconds before. It's now down to 1.7 seconds. So there's no doubt in my mind as Alec McDowell goes off, there's no doubt that Collard is going to catch Shedden by the last lap.
So a big change on that last lap. Tom Chilton was in 3rd place in the Ford Focus. He's now been passed. Oh, Matt Neal goes a bit wide there. Could be a chance for Paul O'Neill. I don't think he's quite close enough. So to remind you, it's still Shedden leading. Collard in 2nd. Plato is now in 3rd. This is the battle for 4th between Matt Neal and Paul O'Neill. And then it's behind them, still Tom Chilton holding on just about. He's got his own teammate Onslow Cole right with him. Paul O'Neill surely not going to go side by side there. No, he doesn't. He tucks back in again. But he is looking very racy indeed.
He is, and the car's able to hold tighter lines and get its power down better, but Matt in defending is allowing Plato just to get away a little bit.
Yeah, this is great stuff. Wonder what the gap going to be up front next time around as well. Shedden still leading, the gap down to 1.7 as you say last time around. Then this great tussle going on for 3rd, 4th and 5th places, and look at it, there are the race leaders then, and the gap has come down a bit more. It was 1.7, it's now 1.4. Shedden is responding, but Collard is still faster.
Yeah, he's going to be there, isn't he, very, very soon. Here comes Plato gingerly coming out of the hairpin. Matt Neal and Paul O'Neill behind, then a whole gaggle behind them, all queuing up behind Chilton. Chilton's the mobile chicane at the moment.
Yeah, it is fascinating stuff. Behind McDowell, Stephen Kane now, who has gained a bit of ground. He's up to 12th position, and this could all kick off in this midfield group, all of them desperate to be in the top 10 and score points here, of course. McDowell had a trip through the gravel through that section last time around. He keeps it clean this time, but again he finds himself muscled down the order, and Alex McDowell still to learn some of the little tweaks perhaps of being a touring car racer.
Yeah, great on board as they go through that fast chicane, absolutely flat out, but the driver very unsighted for where the piles of tyres are either side, and you know, I'm thankful for the marshals for moving those back a little bit to give the drivers a better eye line as Chilton runs wide and they're all going through.
Chilton's really struggling here, Tim. He must have it's surely more of a problem than just the tyres going off, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he still seems to have pace in a straight line, but he's just running ever so wide. And look at the marbles and the rubbish on the outside of the track there. He'll have picked all that up in his tyres, and that'll make it even worse.
Onslow Cole just ahead. There is Andrew Jordan in the Pertec car, desperate for a string of results, really wants to try and put a good weekend together here. But up ahead of them both, the two 888 Vauxhall Vectras, and still these guys all jostling for position. Just to remind you that Matt Jackson, who had that incident earlier on, he's back in this group as well, of course, because of that half spin after that contact with Andrew Jordan. So Stephen Kane is actually a fraction ahead of him. So James Nash is going to come across the line now in 6th place, I think. Let's just check that as they cross the line. Yep, 6th place for Nash. Chilton has come in the pits, we gather. So that it does indicate it's more of a problem than the tyres going off. Daniel Lloyd is now 7th. Tom Onslow Cole is 8th. Andrew Jordan's up to 9th. Matt Jackson is ahead of Stephen Kane. So Jackson in 10th. Stephen Kane is 11th. Bourman is in 12th. McDowell is now down to 13th. And Bourman has just gone past McDowell. So yeah, that stays much the same as it was. And the gap between the leaders as they came past is just now 3/4 of a second. There it is. Gordon Shedden versus Rob Collard. But we're running out of laps. We're on lap 14 out of 15. And Gordon Shedden and Rob Collard both looking for their first victories of 2010.
Yeah, it's been a great drive, much as we predicted. Shedden has really controlled it from the front against deteriorating tyres. Collard has chipped away and got closer and closer and closer. I'm not sure if he's going to have a chance, but we're going to start the last lap. And then behind him, Plato and Neal have patiently moved their way forward.
What a climax we have to this race then. Rob Collard has closed right up to Gordon Shedden in the course of the last 5 or 6 laps. You're looking back from the race leader now. Is Rob Collard going to go on the attack into the first corner at Clairvaux? Running out of time. The final lap. Gordon Shedden Can he defend for this last part of the lap, past the huge banking on the outside? Lots of fans here at Croft this weekend, soaking up the atmosphere and soaking up a tremendous final lap here. Shedden goes defensive all the way over to the right-hand side of the road. Can he defend into Tower? Collard's not close enough surely here, so he has to follow him through. Still a good result, of course, second place for Collard if he holds it, but will he throw caution to the wind here and go on the attack up towards the Jim Clark S's? Really just one line through here. Shedden just threads it through, tries to keep off the marbles. Collard just runs a fraction wide. That doesn't really cost him any time. Up towards Sunny in and Sunny out. No chance to get through there either. Shedden doing everything right, not putting a wheel offline. Now he's just got the complex and the hairpin to cope with, but of course that hairpin is a key overtaking place. We're into the last part of the lap. Shedden holding on as he has been from pretty much the start of this race. Who's going to win it? Collard makes contact with the back of Shedden's car, up to the hairpin. Shedden goes defensive. It's all about the exit. It's all about who gets on the power and gets the traction. It looks good for the Honda, but here comes the BMW, side by side across the line. Who's it going to be? It is Gordon Shedden, who takes his first win of 2010. Team Honda have done it. A brilliant result. Collard drove fantastically as well. Jason Plato is going to take third position. Fourth place goes to Matt Neal and fifth goes to Paul O'Neill. But Gordon Shedden doing just enough there to take that place. Matt Jackson moving up on the line. Look at the battering that BMW has had. Nash takes sixth, Lloyd is seventh, Onslow Cole is eighth, Jackson ninth, Jordan takes 10th place, and it's Stephen Kane in 11th position. But what a result for Gordon Shedden. So a really good effort. Gordon Shedden, his first win of 2010. It's the first Honda win here in 5 years, and it's Gordon's first win since Alton in 2008. Let's see if we can have a word. Gordon, this is Ben in the commentary box. Fantastic result. Well done to you.
Oh, thanks, Ben. It's you know, as the temperature's getting hotter, the BMW kind of comes into its own at the end of the race. It was a question of kind of managing the gap. I guess quite a close little gap at the end, but great to get a win on the board. Absolutely superb. Well done everyone at Honda. You must have been wondering on that drag to the line. Yeah, you could see that a little bit. You know, the BMW gets a lot of traction out the hairpin, but tried to cover my bases as much as possible and made it at the end. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Many congratulations. A fantastic result. Fantastic result there for Gordon, and he really deserves that. He led at Thruxton, remember, and had a puncture. He was running second at Alton Park a couple of weeks ago, and he had a drive shaft failure. Remember, he was up front at Brands Hatch, and on the restart he had a monumental slide and lost a couple of places. But today is his day. It is his first win here at Croft. He's had quite a few podium finishes here in the past, but he's never had that victory, and he now becomes only the third driver on this grid, this current grid of touring cars, to have taken a win here at Croft. But what about that drive also from Rob Collard? He fought every lap and he so nearly took victory. Great to see it finished clean. There was a bit of rubbing at the end, but it stayed clean. They both survived and it was a lovely finish. Let's take a look again at that ending. It was coming out of the hairpin, and Shedden knew that he was in trouble effectively to get a good exit, and he got a good exit. And then look, watch, he just sort of comes across. He has every right to do that. Collard ends up with a wheel on the grass. Oh, and across the line. It could have ended in tears, but actually that was good racing from both of them. They just both wanted it so much. They didn't want to give up on it, and the margin at the end there was 35 thousandths of a second. That's all, 35 thousandths. The result of round 13, Shedden taking the win by a minimal margin from Rob Collard. Plato in third, Matt Neal in fourth, ahead of Paul O'Neill. James Nash a good sixth, and a good debut from Daniel Lloyd in seventh. Tom Onslow Cole in eighth, Matt Jackson finished ninth, and Andrew Jordan was 10th. Just outside the points, Stephen Kane and Tom Borman, then Alex McDowell, who dropped from a good position early in the race. Martin Depper 14th, ahead of John George and Martin Johnson. Andy Neate survived a rather traumatic race in 17th. Chilton was out of luck after starting on pole. Arthur Forster and Lee Wood also had problems. And this is what it does in terms of the championship. Matt Neal had an 8-point lead. Well, it's been reduced fractionally. It's down to 6 points. Gordon Shedden, though, watch him. He's up to third, joint third with Stephen Kane. And don't discount him from becoming a major contender. Tom Onslow Cole's in a very solid 5th place ahead of Matt Jackson.
Tom Chilton, though, down in 9th place, and it's another disappointing day for Chilton, who started from pole position. So a fabulous start to our race day's activities here.